Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that I've learned in all my years of talking to people, listening to stories, and just living life as a man. There's one mistake, one major mistake that so many women keep making with men. And it ain't about looks, it ain't about money, it ain't about cooking or cleaning. The mistake is this: giving a man husband benefits when he's still just a boyfriend. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into this, because this right here is the heart of the whole conversation. The number one mistake that women make with men is giving husband benefits to a boyfriend. Now, let me slow that down and make sure you feel it. I'm saying that too many women are out here serving the full course meal to a man who has only paid for the appetizer. You're giving him the keys to the castle before he's even proven he knows how to build a gate. And when you do that, when you give out the full package before he's earned the right to receive it, you're setting yourself up for disappointment every single time. Here's why this is a mistake. Men value what we work for. It's built into us. It's not just cultural, it's natural. You hand a man something for free, 9 times out of 10 he'll take it, but he won't treasure it, he won't guard it, he won't fight for it. But if he has to climb, if he has to sweat, if he has to prove himself, then when he finally gets it, he holds it differently. He protects it, he respects it, he keeps it close. That's how we're wired. So when a woman gives a man everything, her loyalty, her body, her commitment, her sacrifices, her forgiveness, without him making the ultimate commitment, without him stepping into the role of husband, she's actually robbing herself of the very respect she deserves. Think about this: when a man gets husband benefits while still a boyfriend, what's left to motivate him to move forward? Why would he propose? Why would he step up? Why would he change his behavior if he's already getting the life, the comfort, the intimacy, and the support of a husband without ever having to sign up for the responsibility? A man can sit in that comfort zone for years. He'll enjoy the benefits, but he won't move the relationship forward because to him, there's no need to. The situation already favors him. And you, the woman, are left wondering why he won't commit, why he drags his feet, why he won't talk about marriage, when the truth is he has no incentive to go higher. This is where so many women end up stuck, because society pressures women into thinking they need to hold on to a man no matter what. That being with somebody is better than being alone. So you start cooking for him, cleaning for him, taking care of him, forgiving him over and over, giving him your time, your heart, and your body, all while hoping he'll wake up one day and realize you're the one. But let me tell you something. If a man hasn't made that decision for himself, if he hasn't stood up and said, this woman right here is my wife, then no amount of benefits you give him is going to suddenly flip that switch. It doesn't work like that. When you give husband benefits to a boyfriend, what you're really doing is teaching him how little he has to do to keep you. You're teaching him that you're willing to settle for less than you deserve. You're teaching him that access to your love, your care, and your loyalty comes cheap. And here's the truth. Once a man learns that lesson, it's hard to unteach it, because he knows that no matter how little he does, you'll keep showing up and giving more. That's a dangerous cycle, and too many women are caught in it right now. Now, let's be real. Some men will argue back and say, well, if she really loves me, shouldn't she show it? Yes, love should be shown. But love without boundaries is not love, it's sacrifice. And sacrifice without reciprocity is self-destruction. A man worth keeping doesn't want you to destroy yourself for him. He wants to rise to the occasion and prove himself worthy of the love you offer. He wants to know that when he finally receives your everything, it means something because he earned it. So, what do husband benefits look like in real life? They look like you playing wife without that title. They look like you moving in with a man, doing his laundry, cooking him meals every night, being intimate with him whenever he asks, taking care of his emotional needs, forgiving his bad behavior over and over, investing your money and your time into his life without him ever committing to you in the way that matters most. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you can't support or care for someone you're dating, but there's a line. There's a level of intimacy, sacrifice, here, and responsibility that should be reserved for a husband, because those are the things that separate dating from marriage. Men understand this more than we like to admit. We know the difference between a woman we're just spending time with and a woman we want to build a life with. And the danger comes when a woman blurs that line for us. Because if you're giving me everything without me having to make a commitment, I may enjoy the ride, but I may never make you the destination. That's not cruelty. That's complacency. Men can live in comfort zones for years if nobody challenges them to step up. You see, men respect standards. We may not like them at first, but we respect them. When a woman says, I'm not giving you everything until I know you're serious, until I know where this is going, until you've shown me consistency and commitment, she's not pushing him away. She's separating the real from the fake. Because a man who's just around for convenience will leave. He'll look for an easier situation. But the man who truly values you, the man who sees your worth, he will rise up to meet those standards. He'll accept the challenge. He'll prove himself because he knows you're worth it. That's the power of not giving husband benefits to a boyfriend. It forces the truth to come out. It shows you whether a man is genuinely invested or just passing time. And let me tell you, it saves you years of wasted energy because you don't get stuck pouring into someone who never intended to pour back into you. Now, let's flip the perspective for a moment. Imagine you're a business owner and you've got a product worth millions. You've spent years developing it, packaging it, making it the best it could possibly be. And then someone comes along, says they're interested, but instead of buying, they just take samples. They take samples for months, for years, and you keep giving it out for free because you're hoping that eventually they'll buy the whole thing. But deep down, they're satisfied with the samples. They don't need to buy because you've already given them enough to enjoy. That's exactly what it looks like when you give husband benefits to a boyfriend. You're the $1 million product. Stop giving away free samples. This is not about playing games or withholding love. This is about respecting yourself enough to create boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They're doors with locks, and only the right person with the right key gets full access. Boundaries are how you protect your heart, your body, your energy, and your time. Without them, you'll keep giving until there's nothing left, and then wonder why the man doesn't value you. And let me be clear, this isn't just about sex. Yes, intimacy is a big part of it, but it goes beyond that. It's about how much of yourself you give. It's about how much responsibility you take on for someone who hasn't proven they'll take responsibility for you. It's about how quickly you pour all your energy into someone who hasn't even committed to being permanent in your life. It's about making sure you don't put yourself in a position where you're essentially married without the security, the recognition, or the commitment of marriage. Ladies, you have to remember you are the prize. You set the terms. You decide how far things go and when. A man may initiate pursuit, but you control access. And when you keep giving access without requiring commitment, you lower the value of what you bring. Not because it's not valuable, but because you've taught him to treat it like it's common. And nothing about you is common. This is why I always say, don't confuse potential with a plan. A boyfriend has potential. A husband has a plan. Don't give your everything to potential. Make sure he shows you the plan. Make sure he shows you consistency. Make sure he shows you commitment before you hand over husband benefits. Otherwise, you'll spend years waiting on a man who was never going to step up. Ladies and gentlemen, let me put this plain and simple. If you want a man to see your value, if you want him to respect what you bring to the table, then you cannot let him slide into your life without proving himself first. You've got to make him earn your trust and commitment. Because when you give trust too easily, when you hand over commitment like it costs nothing, you're not showing love, you're showing desperation. And a man can feel that. A man can sense when you're giving everything away without requiring him to rise to the standard. See, trust is not something you just hand out because a man is charming, because he bought you dinner, because he told you a few sweet words in your ear. Trust is built. It's earned over time through consistency, through action, through showing up when it's hard, not just when it's easy. A man can talk all day about what he wants, about how he sees you, about where this relationship could go, but words don't prove anything. Actions prove everything. And until his actions match his words, he doesn't deserve your full trust. Now let's talk about commitment, because this is where so many women end up disappointed. Commitment isn't about a man spending time with you. Commitment isn't about a man texting you every morning. Commitment isn't about a man saying, yeah, you're my girl. Commitment is about a man making a choice to invest in you, to claim you, to prioritize you, to build with you, and to plan for a future with you. Anything less than that is just passing time. And if you're giving your heart to a man who's just passing time, you're setting yourself up for heartbreak. Here's the truth: men rise to the level of what's required of them. If you don't require him to earn your trust, if you don't require him to prove his consistency, if you don't require him to show his commitment, he'll take the easy road. Not because he's evil, but because human nature seeks comfort. If you allow him to live in a comfortable situation without responsibility, that's exactly where he'll stay. But if you demand more, not through nagging, not through begging, but through your standards, then you'll see what he's really made of. A man who is serious about you will not run from effort. He won't complain about having to prove himself. In fact, he'll welcome the opportunity, because men who truly want you want to show you that they deserve you. He'll put in the work. He'll show up on time. He'll call when he says he will. He'll make plans and follow through. He'll handle challenges instead of making excuses. He'll earn your trust little by little because he knows that's what builds a strong foundation. And when he finally gets your full commitment, it will mean something because it wasn't just handed to him, it was earned. But too many women are skipping that step. Too many women are letting a man into their lives after a few nice dates, after a little chemistry, after a few good laughs, and before he's ever shown consistency. You hand him the keys to your heart before he's proven he can even handle the responsibility of keeping it safe. And what happens? He fumbles. He drops it. He takes you for granted because you gave him something priceless without requiring payment. And then you end up broken, confused, and asking, why does this keep happening to me? It happens because you're giving trust and commitment to men who haven't earned it. It happens because you're ignoring the warning signs. It happens because you believe potential is enough. But potential without action is just a dream. And you cannot build your life, your heart, and your future on a dream. You need evidence. You need consistency. You need proof that he's capable of being who he says he is. Now let's break this down further. How does a man earn your trust? It's not about grand gestures. It's about small daily actions that show reliability. If he says he'll call, does he call? If he makes plans, does he show up? When you're upset, does he listen? When you set a boundary, does he respect it? When life gets tough, does he lean in or pull away? That's how you measure trustworthiness. Not by what he says in the good times, but how he behaves in the difficult ones. And how does a man earn commitment? He earns it by giving it. A man who's serious about you will not leave you wondering where you stand. He won't keep you guessing. He won't avoid conversations about the future. He'll be clear about his intentions, and he'll back those intentions with action. He'll make sacrifices. He'll prioritize your relationship. He'll show you that he's not just here for convenience, but for longevity. That's commitment. And that's the man who deserves your loyalty in return. Ladies, let me tell you this, the fastest way to know a man's intentions is to require him to earn your trust. Because a man who is playing games will not stick around when he realizes you won't just hand him everything. He'll disappear. And that's a blessing because it means you didn't waste years investing in someone who was never serious. But the man who values you will rise to the challenge. He'll stay. He'll prove himself. And that's how you separate the contenders from the pretenders. Men actually crave the opportunity to prove themselves. Deep down, we want to know that we earned the woman we love. We want to know that she didn't just settle for us, but that we rose up and became the kind of man she could respect. That's what makes a relationship strong. Because when a man has earned your trust, he'll protect it fiercely. When he's earned your commitment, he'll honor it deeply. And when both of you have put in the work, that's when you have something real. But if you give commitment too soon, you rob yourself of that process. You cheat yourself out of seeing who he really is. Because the truth is, anybody can act right for a short time. Anybody can put on a good show in the beginning. But time reveals character. Time shows whether his words match his actions. Time proves whether he's consistent or just convenient. And that's why you can't rush trust. That's why you can't hand over commitment just because you're excited or infatuated. You've got to give it time. You've got to require proof. Think about it like this. When you're applying for a job, do they just hire you on the spot without checking your qualifications? No, they interview you. They test you. They run background checks. They call your references. They make sure you can do what you say you can do before they give you the job. So why would you let a man step into the most important role in your life without requiring him to show his qualifications? Why would you give him the title without the training? Why would you trust him with your heart without making sure he can handle it? Ladies, your love is not an entry-level position. Your trust is not cheap labor. Your commitment is not a free trial. These are precious, priceless gifts. And the man who wants them should be willing to work for them. If he's not willing to, then he doesn't deserve them. It's that simple. The reason so many relationships fail is because the foundation was never solid. Trust was given without being earned. Commitment was handed out without consistency. And when the storms of life come, that weak foundation crumbles. But when you take the time to let a man prove himself, when you make him earn your trust and your commitment, the foundation becomes rock solid. And that's what sustains a relationship through the storms. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that a lot of people don't want to face. The reason so many women stay stuck in bad situations, the reason so many hearts keep getting broken is because of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of not finding anybody else. And because of that fear, too many women end up lowering their standards, shrinking themselves, and accepting less than they deserve. Let me make this clear. It's not because women don't know their worth. Deep down, most women know exactly what they bring to the table. They know their value. They know the type of love, respect, and treatment they deserve. But when that fear of being alone creeps in, it can cloud judgment. It can make you settle. It can make you stay in places that you were never supposed to stay in. See, society does a good job of convincing women that their worth is tied to whether or not they have a man. Everywhere you look, it's about being in a relationship, getting married, having somebody by your side. And when you don't have that, people start asking questions. Why are you single? When are you going to settle down? Don't you want kids? That pressure is real. And if you're not careful, you start internalizing it. You start thinking something must be wrong with you if you're still single. You start believing that maybe you need to compromise more. Maybe you need to accept things you normally wouldn't just to keep somebody next to you. That's how fear gets a hold of you. Fear whispers things in your ear that aren't true. It tells you that you're running out of time. It tells you that good men are rare. It tells you that you should be grateful for whatever attention you're getting, even if it's not good attention. Fear convinces you that loneliness is worse than mistreatment. But let me tell you, being alone is not the worst thing in the world. Being with the wrong person, lowering your standards just to say you have somebody, that's worse. Because when you settle, you don't just waste time, you lose pieces of yourself. Now let's talk about what happens when you lower your standards out of fear. First, you teach the man that he doesn't have to give you his best. If you accept less, he'll give less. If you don't demand respect, he won't offer it. If you put up with inconsistent behavior, he'll keep being inconsistent. Standards aren't about being picky. They're about setting the bar for how you expect to be treated. When you drop that bar just to keep somebody in your life, you're telling them that they don't need to rise higher. And most people will only rise to the level that's required of them. Second, when you lower your standards, you start losing confidence in yourself. Because deep down, you know you deserve better. You know you shouldn't be tolerating disrespect, neglect, or half-hearted love. But the longer you stay in that situation, the more you convince yourself that this is all you can get. And that kind of self-doubt eats away at you. It makes you question your own value. It makes you settle deeper and deeper. Before long, you forget what it even feels like to be loved the right way. Third, lowering your standards doesn't just affect you. It affects the next generation. If you have children, or if you plan to, what you tolerate teaches them what's normal. If they see you settling for less, if they see you staying in unhealthy relationships out of fear, they'll carry that into their own lives. They'll think that's how love is supposed to look. And the cycle continues. That's why it's so important to break it. Not just for yourself, but for everyone watching you. Now here's the truth. Being alone is not a punishment. Being alone is preparation. It's time for you to focus on yourself, to grow, to heal, to build, to learn what you really want and need. It's space for you to strengthen your standards so that when the right man comes along, you recognize him immediately. But when you're too afraid of being alone, you don't give yourself that opportunity. You rush into relationships that don't fit. You accept treatment that doesn't honor you. You confuse temporary companionship with real love. I've seen so many women make this mistake. They meet a man who's charming but inconsistent. Instead of holding him accountable, they excuse it. They tell themselves, at least he's here sometimes. They meet a man who won't commit, but they tell themselves, maybe he'll change if I just stick around long enough. They meet a man who disrespects their boundaries, but they say, well, at least I'm not alone. And before they know it, years have passed. That fear of being alone kept them in a situation that never had a future. The real strength is in knowing that being alone doesn't define you. It doesn't mean you're unworthy. It doesn't mean you're unlovable. It means you respect yourself enough not to settle. It means you know that your peace, your happiness, your sanity, and your future are worth more than a half love from someone who can't meet your standards. Because let's be real, loneliness is temporary, but regret lasts a lifetime. And nothing creates more regret than looking back and realizing you lowered your standards out of fear. When you hold your standards high, you may lose some people. Some men will walk away because they're not willing to give you what you require. And that's okay. That's a blessing. Because every man who walks away is making space for the one who will step up, the one who sees your value, the one who wants to meet your standards because he knows you're worth it. And trust me, he's out there. But he won't even get a chance to find you if you're too busy holding on to someone who doesn't deserve you. You have to start believing that being single is not a problem to be fixed. It's an opportunity to live fully, to know yourself, to grow into the best version of you. And when you do that, you attract better. You attract people who are on the same level. You attract love that aligns with your standards. But it starts with the decision to stop letting fear control you. Fear will keep you trapped. Fear will keep you tolerating less. Fear will keep you in relationships that drain you instead of building you. But faith in your worth, that will free you. Fear of being alone is powerful, but self-respect is more powerful. When you understand your value, when you trust that you deserve real love, when you know that being alone is better than being mistreated, you stop making decisions from a place of fear. You start making decisions from a place of strength. And that shift changes everything. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about something that every woman needs to remind herself of every single day. You are the crown. You are the prize. You are the queen. And when I say that, I don't mean it as some cute little compliment. I mean it as a truth that you've got to carry in your heart, in your mind, and in the way you live. Too many women forget this. Too many women put the crown down, hand it over, or hide it just to make a man feel comfortable. And the moment you forget your worth, the moment you let somebody else define your value, that's when everything starts to fall apart. Being the crown means you are the standard. You don't chase, you don't beg, you don't plead. You sit on your throne and allow only those who are worthy to approach. That's not arrogance, that's self-respect. That's knowing what you bring to the table. That's understanding that the kind of love you give, the kind of loyalty you offer, the kind of support you provide is not something just anybody deserves. It's something that must be earned, honored, and respected. Now here's the thing. When you forget you're the crown, you start acting like you're common. You start lowering yourself to get a man's attention. You start chasing, calling, texting, begging for his time. You start thinking you've got to compete with other women when the truth is a queen doesn't compete. She gets chosen because she's unique. And if a man can't see that, he's not the one. When you know you're the crown, you stop wasting energy trying to convince a man to value you. Because your value is not up for negotiation. Men can sense when a woman knows her worth. When she walks in a room and carries herself like she's the prize, it changes everything. It changes the way he approaches her. It changes the way he treats her. A woman who knows she's the crown doesn't have to scream it. She shows it through her confidence, her boundaries, her standards, and her refusal to settle. And let me tell you, a man respects that. He may not always admit it out loud, but deep down, he knows the difference between a woman who will let him play games and a woman who demands his best. The problem is, a lot of women get tricked into forgetting their crown. They let sweet words fool them. They let loneliness pressure them. They let fear convince them that if they don't lower their standards, they'll miss out. But what you don't realize is, when you put your crown down, you attract the wrong kind of men. You attract the ones who are looking for an easy ride, not the ones who are ready to step up. Because a man who's serious about you, a man who's ready to love and commit, is not afraid of your standards. He respects them. He wants them because they force him to grow, to rise, to give his best. Think about a crown for a second. A crown doesn't fit on everybody's head. It's designed for royalty. It's heavy. It requires strength to carry. It's valuable. It's unique. That's you. You are not designed for just anybody. You are not supposed to fit into everybody's life. You are meant for the one who is ready to handle the weight of your worth, who is willing to carry the responsibility of your love. And until he shows up, You don't let just anybody walk off with what makes you priceless. Now let's get into what it looks like to keep your crown on. It looks like setting boundaries and sticking to them. It looks like saying no when something doesn't align with your value. It looks like refusing to accept half love, half effort, half respect. It looks like walking away when a man can't give you consistency, clarity, or commitment. It looks like believing in yourself so deeply that you'd rather be single and at peace than in a relationship full of stress, drama, and disrespect. Keeping your crown on means understanding that your time is precious. You don't waste it on men who don't have a plan. You don't waste it on men who are still playing games, still figuring out what they want, still keeping you in the maybe zone. A queen doesn't wait around for somebody to make up their mind. She knows her worth, and she waits for the man who already knows what he has when he sees her. Too many women put their crown down because they think being strong, being confident, being selective will scare men away. And you're right, it will scare the wrong ones away. But the right one will be drawn to it. Because a man who is truly ready for a queen doesn't want someone who makes it easy for him to slack off. He wants someone who inspires him to be better, who challenges him to rise, who makes him feel like he's found something rare. That's what a crown does. It doesn't lower itself. It elevates the one who earns it. Here's another truth. When you forget you're the crown, you start over, giving. You start pouring more into the relationship than he does. You start chasing him instead of being pursued. You start proving yourself to him when really it's his job to prove himself to you. That's how queens lose their power, by acting like they're not the prize. But the moment you shift back into your rightful place, the dynamic changes. You stop chasing. You stop begging. You stop proving. And you start watching who steps up, who puts in the effort, who shows they can handle the privilege of being with you. Ladies, the crown is not about perfection. You don't have to be flawless to know your worth. You don't have to have it all together. Being the crown means you recognize your value even in your imperfections. It means you know your love is powerful, your presence is impactful, and your soul is rare. That's what makes you the prize. Not how you look, not how much you have, not what you can give a man, but who you are. When you understand this, you stop negotiating your value. You stop letting men talk you into things you don't want. You stop allowing inconsistency in your life. You stop crying over people who don't see your worth. Instead, you stand tall, adjust your crown, and wait for the man who recognizes what he's standing in front of. And let me say this, keeping your crown on doesn't mean you're cold or unapproachable. It doesn't mean you don't give love. It doesn't mean you act superior. It means you love yourself enough to make sure whoever gets your love has proven they deserve it. It means you don't settle for being treated like an option when you know you're the prize. It means you carry yourself with grace, with dignity, with confidence, and with faith that the right man will rise to meet you. Men value what they earn. If you hand over your crown without making him prove himself, he won't treat it with respect. He'll play with it. He'll take it for granted. But if he has to earn it, if he has to show consistency, if he has to show loyalty, if he has to show commitment, then when he finally gets it, he'll treasure it. He'll guard it. He'll wear the responsibility with pride. That's how you know he's the one worthy of standing beside you. Keeping your crown on is about reminding yourself daily that you are not desperate, you are not replaceable, and you are not defined by who does or doesn't choose you. You define yourself. You set the tone. You decide what's acceptable. And when you live like that, you attract better. You feel better, and you build a life that reflects your true worth.